giving it some more minutes before I drop out, but it seems like nothing's going on today. So we'll likely skip the meeting then if nobody will join. Let's give it 1 or 2 more minutes. Hey, hey.
Hey, sorry I'm late.
No worries, didn't miss anything.
Are we the first two?
Yep.
Oh, that sucks. I was really hoping that we were. I know it's a tough month for open source meetings, but I was hoping we were going to get a few more folks in here to talk about things. Well, that's okay. That's fine. Do you wanna wait? I'm sorry I'm late. I was on another call.
No worries.
Do you wanna wait another few minutes, or do you wanna jump in? I think you and I are familiar enough with sort of the status of things. We could just kind of quickly run through some things. I have some bullet points just that are discussions, like that aren't really notes, they're just discussions. But and then I just want to have talks about the operation builder and that kind of stuff. Do you want to just jump right in?
Let's jump right in. I like if somebody else is joining. If then we'll get them up to speed.
Okay, so the first thing I have is let's get all these quality of life PRs merged in, all the ESLint stuff that Dimitris has been putting in. I'd love to just get those in. They seem like they're passing what they need to pass. That's a ton of work that is gonna, it's gonna be really helpful.
I think my audio just died.
Can you?
Hello. Okay, I still can't hear you. It's definitely me though. Hello. Now I can hear you.
How's that?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Are we back? Yep, I can hear you.
Sorry.
No worries. Happens. So I was just talking about all of these wonderful quality of life PRs, like focused around ESLint, that would be nice to get merged in. I'm not sure what Dimitri's is waiting for. Maybe he's got more to add, but I'm very excited to get this stuff in.
I think he's just waiting for somebody to have a look. I did a pass last week on some of them, and after I approved them, he also like merged them within, I don't know, 10 minutes or something. So, but like most of them, I think I didn't look at the new ones. Most of them seem pretty small. So I'll see, or like we can just see to get some eyes on it.
Well, I think Dimitri has. I'm trying to find it here. He has a there's an issue 2894 where he's got a to-do list in here. I'll share this. So maybe he's waiting to get all these to merge a lot of these in until he gets this list complete. But I just wanted to say out loud how excited I am for all these updates. Maybe he's just waiting to get all of them done. So there's no action item there. Just wanted to bring it up. Wanted to talk about it.
I think like action item could be just for us to try to have a look at them, and I think if Dimitri doesn't merge them, then we'll just merge them in. Should be fine.
Okay. So next up was meeting notes. There we go. Thank you for that, Thomas.
Still didn't figure out template or anything, but yeah.
I think it's okay as long as we're just making notes. I think for now that's fine. I'm going to request edit access here.
Yes. So anybody can edit. Done. Now you can edit.
Is there a dark mode for Google Docs?
Not sure.
Okay, so the second thing, yeah. Anyway, the second thing that I wanted to bring up was these other There's a couple of PRs that I don't know how closely you were following this, but there's a company called Nearform that's working on a Mercurius plugin for GraphiQL, which is cool. It's super cool, but it's like a full screen plugin, right? Their plugin, so the history plugin and the docs plugin, they interface directly with the document editor, with the operations editor. This full screen plugin that they're building doesn't directly, it's schema aware, right? It needs to consume the schema context and maybe respond to some other bits that are inside of the context state for GraphiQL, but it doesn't interface with the editors directly. And so there's two PRs. The original PR, let me find it here, was 2929. So this one came in and was a first attempt at being able to control the resizer panes at the graphical level, right? The graphical component level, which I'm not totally sure how I feel about it. I think it adds complexity to the API surface. The components themselves, that resizer component, wasn't really built to be changed like that, right? You know, it has a lot of like really good behavior that's built into it. And so you can see here, I just wrote up a code sandbox really quickly that just sort of did this, that allowed them to do this thing without all of that code complexity in graphical React or in the graphical component. they'd still like to get the PR in because they think it might help other folks, which I agree with. I agree that it could be helpful for folks that get into situations like this. The point that I've made here in both this PR and the follow-up PR, which did basically the same thing but changed the API surface, was that the graphical V2 design has like a full screen view changer, right? Like there's a drop down there that's meant to change that primary view that was originally thought of. I know that there wasn't a lot of exploration down there, but it was meant to solve these sort of it was meant to be the plugin space for these full screen plugins. And I think, like I said here, like this is an opportunity for us to do that, because if we're interested in helping people down the line, the right way to help those people would be to, you know, advance the plugin API and advance the design a little bit with this full screen view. So how do you feel about these kinds of changes in the repository as it regards things that we've already talked about that we just haven't gotten to?
I love the color that you're making with the design. So I think the resizer component was really like for this vertical or horizontal resizing. It was never intended to be any more sophisticated than that. So I can only agree to the things that you've been saying. I think this could be a good chance, especially if they are up for also contributing to this. It doesn't need to be us that do all the work.
Right. I think that's the crux. That's the crux, is that they would need to shift their, you know, there would be a shift in just that commitment. So I just pasted in the second pull request filed from that team, which again, like it's all good code. There's no reason that like we would reject it, except that this is an opportunity for us to do this thing the way that it had sort of been thought of at the beginning. And so I'm not going to make this decision. I wish there were more of us here to talk about this, because it's like you said, it's a bigger commitment to do it the right way, but it's the right way to do it.
I actually think we are we're probably the two main maintainers now of GraphiQL, like not the whole code base, because there's like the editor, the LSP and stuff in there, which is more like Ricky's part still. But I feel actually that we are empowered to make these decisions. So if we both agree now, I mean, we show up here to this meeting. If we both agree that this is the way forward, then I think we can make a decision on that.
Yeah, and I think, excuse me, I don't know that it needs to, you know, it's not fun to reject a PR, especially one that follows the rules and is done well. But if we can make, you know, if we can propose a path forward for exploring the full green, you know, if we can get that level of commitment, then I think that we should. I believe this has been a week or so since I looked at it, and I've kind of been off doing other things, but I believe they have they're either patch packaging or they're doing something currently that like gets them what they want to do here, but it's not an ideal solution. So I think after you've had a chance to look at both of them and look at the code sandbox and you know, we can async this in Discord, we can and actually they're on Discord, so they're also there. There's a long conversation about this specifically on Discord. Actually, let me get that thread link and I'll put it in the notes as well, because I think it's relevant. Let's see. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, technically, they could just basically copy GraphiQL and use GraphiQL React to like build the thing themselves if they really wanted to.
Well, they're building a plugin. That I think that was the thing for them, is they're building a plugin and they're also consuming their own plugin. So their plugin is going to go into the community, and somebody else that might be running Castify and you're curious might want to use that plugin. So they're not going to have, like, if you look at the code sandbox, that's all at the graphical level. That's all at like that app level. It's not going to work. The plugin needs that control to be able to display itself correctly, unless they expect consumers of their plugin to implement graphical the same way that they are, and that's definitely unreasonable.
Yeah, sure.
That's not
sure. It's maybe like a short-term fix for them to have their the experience in Mercurius, but yeah, definitely. Like, it would be a way for them to work around it for the time while we like lay out the path, as you said, for this kind of full screen plugin experience and how we want that to look like.
going on here.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not. Sometimes it's
my fault. That's my fault.
It's pasting them as links, sometimes not.
There we go. In that discussion, I even tagged Benji, because I know that Benji and the work in post GraphiQL had talked about earlier this year, when Tim and Julian were presenting the design to the larger working group. Benji and other folks, I went back and I watched that video. They had lots of great questions, and this, remember when the plugin API had like a lot of different, there was a lot of possibility and there's a lot of options there. So even in that Discord discussion, I asked Benji, and he said he did have some ideas, but he wasn't ready to share them just yet. But I know that this is something that people want, right? We've talked about this before. It's I think it's a really cool way to expand the plugin API without having to think about it. It only touches in information architecture, right? You get into a lot of weird information architecture and layering problems with the sidebar plugins, because they're generally, it seems like they are meant to influence the editors directly, right? Like the history plugin is destructive to the document editor, the operations editor, and the docs plugin is linked directly, right? You can effectively toggle between the two. They're connected. So working on this full screen view plugin allows us to separate the thinking about what the surface of a plugin API might be, without having to consider like all of the complexity around like the editors themselves, right? Because this is separate from the editor, and it just gives us a way to explore the plugin. So I think it's a really good opportunity, and I think it's not an easy win, but it's easier than Monaco, and it's easier than the visual operation builder.
It is probably. Agreed. I noted this down as decision in our meetings notes. I'm fine with that, and as we are the only two here, we have an agreement.
Cool.
Awesome. I also noted down that I will look at the DPRs and will also leave my sentiment in there.
Yeah.
Sorry for not being too active in the recent
it's
in
totally
the various
fine.
weeks. It's has been hard to find the time.
Yeah, I understand. So those are just two issues. Those are like chores that I wanted to talk about. I think I wanted to discuss. I have not, just a status check, I have not really advanced the state management RFC, primarily because I'm busy with other things, but also a big reason why I haven't advanced that is because as you know, just the tooling and the setup inside the repository, it just makes it sort of like
not
slow.
easy.
It's sort of, it's uneasy to work with. So it just like those kind of big changes really require a lot of these ESLint plugin improvements are going to be very helpful. The the PR. So I started working on the state management RFC, and then I realized like I can't do this. I can't reasonably do this given the situation. And so that's when I filed the draft PR for Webpack to Vitae, and it sounded like Ricky was positive about it and had some like was down the road of being able to get it like full, because it's just a draft, right? It wasn't fully integrated. Getting it fully integrated, and then that work hasn't been completed. So just the status check for me is state management RFC is just on hold until like the tooling gets cleaned up, which I feel like we're getting there, which is a wonderful feeling. And then the Webpack to Vitae situation, if you have a look at that PR, like there's a couple of to-dos that just need to get addressed, and it sounds like Ricky, was doing some things to integrate it deeper into the mono repo build setup versus what I just did, which was really just focusing on graphical and getting rid of some of the Webpack stuff. So I'd love to really get that one moving through, because I think it's an unlock for some of the other issues that we're having.
Yep.
Yeah, that's my status check-in.
Awesome. Agreed. I think the PR has been open now for probably half a year. +1 for like, it doesn't make sense to close it because it's the thing that we want to move towards. So let's try to get this in.
I opened up a new one. I started from scratch. There had been.
Okay.
Yeah, so there were two. Let me find them. I'll link them. I'll put them in the doc. But the reason that I started over was because the first one is, I'm just gonna find them right now. The first one was an abandoned attempt that, after I looked at it, didn't even really get close. I mean, their Vitae was in there, but it didn't solve the end-to-end problem. It didn't solve the dev server. It didn't do any of that. So it wasn't a great starting point, especially just because it was so old. Like, it didn't make sense to pick up. And the second one that came in, again, I'm going to find these and link to them. The second one that came in was equally incomplete. It just didn't solve like all of the it's a the setup in GraphiQL is really complex, and so
yeah.
Both of them, I would like to close them. I'm just going to close them. As long as
if you have a follow-up that's incorporating like the changes from those two, then we can just close the old ones and move forward with the one that has all the changes in it. I'm fine with that. I know that down you getting the PR ready and me then reviewing it, then seeing that we can get this in.
Yeah, so there's I'm going to stop talking because I can't do two things at once. I'm going to get these links into the documentation before I forget.
No worries.
Can you hear that truck outside? Does that pick up on my microphone?
Yeah, it does. If nobody's talking. Like,
I couldn't have figured. I got
no worries. I couldn't have figured out what it is. It's like really a deep background noise. But anyway,
as long as it's not annoying, I have my door open here. I split my sliding door open. Okay. Okay, so on 2925, I'm going to close these right now. But on 2925, in my original comments, I've just got a little punch list there. And so just to give you some context as you go over this, the first one is Vite doesn't like that inside the toolkit, inside the create fetcher function, or in the lib somewhere inside create fetcher, there's a require statement that was put in.
Yeah.
It was put in, I've got it linked in here, but it was put in to provide better feedback about GraphQL WS not being installed as a dependency. So we need to figure that out. Or maybe there's a way that the build system can work around that, but I just sort of gave up on it because it seemed like it was going to take a lot of time. That's one. And then the second one is that graphical.min.css.map isn't generated, right? My approach to this was just to generate the exact same files with the different build system. That's all I was trying to, and then also make end-to-end work. So I don't think that this is a big deal. I don't think that anyone's looking at the Netlify dev build and trying to use the CSS source maps, but I wanted to note it here because it was an inconsistency. Those are the two sort of outstanding issues outside of the work that Ricky was doing to get this integrated into like the full build system. I believe they were trying to like modify the root package JSON so that like build bundles was, doing something similar. I didn't really follow it that closely. So those two things that I mentioned are like the ones that like that you may be able to help just confirm or fix. So those are the two big ones. And then also the rest of it, like I said, I need to reread what Ricky was attempting to do here before I can feel confident about talking about it. Let's see. That I really would love to get this in. I just would love to get this one.
Yeah, I need to take a look at it. The require one could be, that's a good catch. It's gonna be hard with, or I need to look at it.
Yeah, I only caught it because Vite yelled at me about it. It's not something like I would have had to. It wouldn't have occurred to me. Okay, so I think that's it for me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't like the only thing I wanted to talk about was what a check-in with the work streams that are going on. I sadly don't have an active work stream that I really own currently, so I don't have an update to give.
So I can
catch.
At our last meeting, we talked about two things, right? The primary sort of goals for us were going to be Monaco and we're going to be the visual operation builder. I have a ton to say about the visual operation builder. I also have observations about the Monaco situation. So Tim Hall, excuse me, from Postman was going to take a crack at Monaco in GraphQL or in Graphical. After a few weeks, I think that was the October meeting that we talked about that.
Yeah.
So after a few weeks, I pinged Tim on Discord and I said, hey, I'm just super interested in the outcome of what you're going to work on. And I know a little bit about Monaco from the work that I'm doing in the prototype. I'd love to help out if I can. Mm-hmm. I didn't hear from Tim. He just seems very busy, but I did weeks later, early November, mid-November, I was filling out my grant application for the GraphQL Foundation. And so I checked in again and didn't get a response. So I asked Doc, I just checked in with Doc. I said, hey, I'm filling out my grant application and I'd love to include Monaco as something that I would like to work on. But I'd like to get a sense of like where you folks are at with it or what was going on. And she didn't have an update from Tim. So I don't. That's what I know about Monaco. Like there hasn't been a PR. There hasn't been.
Okay.
It doesn't seem like there's been any work there. So I don't know how.
Yeah, then I would assume that there's no progress been made if we don't hear back. Sadly, but so it is.
So that's Monaco. I took a swing at it. I didn't get very far. It is complicated. It's the way that the just code mirror in general, the way that it works is just fundamentally different. Like code mirror touches your code base in ways that Monaco doesn't. I can imagine it's equally difficult if you know code mirror really well to then try to understand what Monaco is doing. I don't know if we have any unicorns out there that magically understand React integration of both of them, but it might take someone like that or someone who just has an inordinate amount of time to dedicate to getting that across. But it is going to be very difficult. So it wouldn't be nice to see Monaco like advancing faster, but it's understandable that it's not happening. Visual Operation Builder. I continue to iterate over the design and build on the design, and the prototype that's online is sort of in and out of a working state because I'm just iterating so quickly. I am not getting feedback from the community, which has been kind of a bummer. There was loads of enthusiasm earlier in the year to really make this a core piece of graphical version 2. We didn't have time to get it in, and then you got the Explorer plugin in, which was great. And so I think I'm guessing what's happened was people are perfectly happy with the Explorer plugin, except when they're not. And there are a couple of issues in the repository where they're not. I have plenty of design reasons why I don't like it, but it does work. For most people, it works just fine. It's comfortable for them. They're familiar with it, The docs experience is there with the docs plugin, and you get Explorer in there, and you've got something that's working, and that's great. So that's my guess for why the level of enthusiasm just hasn't been so great for the Visual Operation Builder. I'd love to hear any, if there's some other reason, if there's something that I could do better as I work on it, if I could yell louder, if I could get a bigger megaphone, I would, but I don't think I do. One thing that Ricky and I have discussed, Thomas, was asking folks that are a part of the larger working group, asking someone that attends that meeting, regularly, to bring this up. Just like, hey, we have a couple of graphical initiatives that we're really excited about, but we need more bodies, we need more feedback, we need more engagement. So Ricky and I have talked about, asking or approaching them to bring it up at that level again, because I don't believe that graphical has been discussed at that level since like earlier in the year when Tim was deep diving on the design and the plan for version 2. So that's really the only suggestion that I have for getting more feedback. And this isn't if there were 2 people doing this, it wouldn't be enough. If there are 3 people doing this, it wouldn't be enough. It really it's a community decision. This is potentially the de facto new default plugin, and so it needs to get done right, and so everybody needs to have some involvement in it.
I think one way, like you say, could even be maybe also turn it around, us being more proactive and reserving some time for it at a GraphiQL working group meeting to present this, to just have the audience for this. For that, then I would, or it should probably be a real proposal where we say this is the more or less final thing that we're settling on now, and it's now in the process of just ironing out potential things that could go wrong, or pointing out things that are not working in the proposal, like basically identifying any blockers. And seeing what comes back from that. And if everybody's happy, then just do it. I think eventually we'll get more feedback when there is actually like a plugin that users can just drop into their graphical instance.
I know. It's so much work to get to that point. Like I would say I've done 50% of the work necessary to get this thing done. And no, I don't think anybody has even reviewed the code that I wrote to get it done, right? There could be problems with the code that I wrote. It might not be, I know it's not performant, right? It hasn't been optimized. There's that. It might not, pattern-wise, might not fit in. Like there's a lot of reasons why the work that I've done has been scoped in the prototype world and not necessarily reflective of like the way that this final product is going to work. So I would say even if the work that I've done was like right on track, it's still only 50%. There's just, you know, there's the, we've talked about this before, right? We've talked about the code mirror versus Monaco situation and how you interact with that and how it's different enough. We talked about this, Patrick brought this up 2 months ago at the meeting 2 months ago, where like theoretically you could write an interface on top of the editor stack that makes the actual editor irrelevant, right? You have an API that you talk to that knows how to then talk to CodeMirror or talk to Monaco, but that's just another gigantic bulk of work that seems totally unnecessary. So we came to an agreement like, well, let's go with Monaco. Well, with Monaco, you end up then this like rabbit hole sort of expands, right? If we decide like we're just definitely going to go with Monaco, well, then that means that we have all of there's still Monaco GraphQL work that needs to get done, like not UI, not editor wise, but Monaco GraphQL work that needs to get done. We have to figure out, we have net new features then, right? So one thing that people love about the CodeMirror setup and the Explore plugin is they're linked together. You can click inside of CodeMirror to get, you know, and then bring up the correct documentation panel. I haven't figured out how to do that with Monaco yet. I imagine it's pretty complicated, but I haven't even gotten a shot. So it's like a net new thing. So my point is that like we've decided we're going to go with Monaco, but we really haven't like addressed that. So getting the design for the plugin like fully validated or at least partially validated is difficult because we're playing in kind of like a soupy, like ephemeral world where the pieces are at different stages of completion. And so that's, you know, that's challenging.
I see. So basically we would need to like get going on the Monaco front first before eventually really investing in the visual operation builder.
I mean, I think there's UI work that we can do, like design UI work in the visual operation builder that we can do. Like that's basically what I've been doing. It's UI work. Does it have all the bits that it needs? You know, more basic kind of stuff. The integration between the two and the docs layer that is a part of the visual operation builder, whatever that docs view looks like, whether it's like a popover or dialogue or whatever that ends up being, that is going to be the bit that is either going to need to be integrated into Monaco editor. So we need to number one, ensure that we can do that, which I believe we can. Apollo Sandbox does that, right? I know that in Monaco, you can grab onto a field or you can like click on a field and you can use Monaco GraphQL to get all the data you need to open up the right panel, like inside documentation. But I don't know how it works. Like I know you could do it. I just don't know how it actually works. So Again, like, you know, the way that my brain works is like, we should just do all the design first. Like the design really needs to get done. But with the blocker of like, we don't have the Monaco stuff totally figured out, it kind of, like, there's sort of a roadblock there. So we can keep chugging away on the UI stuff. I've got, you know, a lot of new ideas that I started exploring this week for arguments, because that's one of the big pieces that isn't described well in the GraphQL v2 design, is like, what do arguments really look like? If we're going to attempt as close to a one-to-one feature parity with the existing OneGraph Explorer, then having input fields inside of the new one that's a big one. You know, the ability to just like toggle an argument that's a string or a number or an enum and just get the appropriate field next to it. I think that's a really important feature that we should try to keep as one-to-one as possible. So I have some new ideas for that, but again, just given the complexity of the view, and, you know, big schemas make this even more challenging. Like, how do you fit inputs in there in a way that that aren't you know, like disruptive to the experience? So there's work there that I'm doing, that I will continue to do, and I'll share that Figma file hopefully sometime really soon. I just want to make a little more progress on it, but really it's irrelevant because it's not like, it doesn't fit the current design system, and I've done that intentionally, right? But once I figure it out and people play with it and they think that they like it, like, I think it'd be pretty simple to jump into that original file.
Yeah, I think it's more about the UX side of things, and the exact UI and design, like how it really looks. That's more of a thing that we can adapt them.
Yeah.
So all good. Okay. I mean, given that we already have some action items and that it's Christmas and holiday season coming up, I wouldn't put down anything for Monaco or the visual operation builder now as part of this meeting. And regroup next year and see where if something happens, maybe something in Monaco did get done, we'll see. And then we regroup and we assess where we want to go from there in January.
Agreed. Yeah.
Sounds good. Do you have anything else? I don't.
No, that was it. I think this was really productive. Again, I'm sorry for being late. I was on another call and I was trying to jump out of it.
No worries.
Thanks for hanging around and waiting. I appreciate that you did that.
Yeah, I was about like, okay, if at the 50-minute mark nobody's here, then I'm gonna drop. Then so you called on just in time.
Great.
Okay, awesome. Then yeah, have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and see each other in the next year, and hear from each other like async on GitHub and Discord.
All right. Thanks again, Thomas.
Thank you. Bye-bye.